I thought we'd start the week off right by celebrating a victory, at least in my mind. As you can see here, a worker was fired for asking about pay. Now that same business will have to pay them $50,000. We talk about this a lot on the channel, but if you're in a break room and there's a sign that says you're prohibited from talking about what you make with other people that work there, or if you do that, you'll be terminated, go ahead, let them terminate you for doing that, because you too will probably, most likely, take home a fat stack of cash for them breaking the law. Here's a more official transcript of something that you might see in a contract. I understand in order to maintain a conflict-free environment, wages and salaries of all employees as well as their scheduled raises, blah, 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 must remain confidential. If it is shown an employee is discussed or disclosed the details of their contract, then they could face disciplinary action up to termination. If you ever see some garbage like this hanging around the break rooms, I would probably try and get fired for that, because chances are you'll make more from being fired from that garbage job once the Department of Labor takes them to court and wrings them out. You'll have a nice fat paycheck to sit on, because there are a lot of companies out there that don't want you to talk about what they pay. They don't want you to know about the wage gaps that are probably happening, or that the person you're training is making more than you. The real quick summary from the official Department of Labor, by the way, says the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Georgia has ordered the owner of a Stone Mountain insurance agency to pay $50,000 in back wages and liquidated damages to a worker terminated after inquiring about pay. That's it. Just inquiring about pay. You're fired. You want to know what I make? You're fired. That's, retaliation. The person doesn't have to answer, by the way. If you say, how much do you make? They don't have to answer, but you're free to discuss, at your own will. And there's nothing they can do to stop you. In fact, here's the entire list and the official page from the National Labor Relations Board. If we come down, you can see when you and another employee have a conversation or communication about your pay, it is unlawful for your employer to punish you or retaliate against you in any way for having that conversation. So if you and a coworker are standing around the office or wherever you're at talking about what you pay, your manager, your boss overhears it, and they try to get you in trouble for that, or they interrogate you, well, then go ahead and take them to the NLRB, because they're not allowed to do that. It is also unlawful for your employer to interrogate you about the conversation, threaten you for having it, like don't do that again, or if you do that, blah, 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 or put you under surveillance for having such conversations about what you and everyone else gets paid. If you're, all voluntarily willing to talk about it, not everyone's comfortable talking about their wages, but if two consenting people at work want to talk about it, then they should be able to. Additionally, it is unlawful for an employer to have a work rule, policy, or hiring agreement that prohibits employees from discussing their wages with each other, or that requires you to get the employer's permission to have such discussions. I know there are some of you out there, or some of you that have friends that are working at places where their boss has some little piece of paper hung up somewhere that says you can't talk about wages. Well, according to the NLRB, you can. In my opinion, if your company has one of those posters, go ahead, take a picture of it, start collecting evidence, and go ahead and send it to the Department of Labor. What's funny about this is that I was actually in trouble for talking about wages at one of my jobs. I started talking about how much I get paid, and it was just me and this other lady that had been working there for like 10 years, and she asked me what I get paid, and I don't have a problem because, I'm sure she's making way more money than me. She's been there way longer, and it turns out she was actually making less money than me, and I got in trouble for that because she never knew, I guess. And I guess I could have reported that company to the NLRB. That's interesting. That's food for thought. Maybe I will. Now, where employers get away with this is the proof and the evidence, because a lot of these things will happen in passing. They'll be like, hey, we overheard you speaking with one of your coworkers about pay, and we're going to have to ask you to not do that anymore. Like, that's illegal. That little conversation, that right there, that's illegal. They can't even tell you to do that. But chances are you don't have your phone out recording this conversation or anything like that. So the hardest thing about this is getting evidence. So if they have a sign or they put it in a contract that you can't talk about money, go ahead, just report them. Just report them, say goodbye. It's a garbage company. What are they hiding? It doesn't benefit any of the workers. It doesn't benefit anyone that works there for them to not be able to talk about what they make. I can't think of any good reason other than if it was a public company and then you might have some insider info or something like that. But if you're talking about your salary and they're talking about their salary, that's completely fine. And there's nothing they can do to stop you from talking about that. And it's good to see some justice, in my opinion. I'm tired of companies purposely withholding information to manipulate people so that they can maximize their profit. I'm just over it. So if you're seeing any of these violations, your right to discuss wages, any of this, you've been threatened, you've been put under surveillance, they interrogate you about what you talked about, like, go ahead and give this phone number a call right here. if your company is a POS and you're looking for some justice. Yeah, I don't know. I was fired up. I was fired up because it's nice to see. To me, this is uplifting news. Treat your workers nice. Be transparent about their pay with them, or pay in general with your workers. That's why they work there. And don't do stuff like this. So it's nice. I hope that this Mark Davis person, Mark Davis State Farm, I hope that he can afford to pay this out. But I don't know. That got fired for asking about money gets what they deserve. Even if this is way more than they would have ever gotten paid, you know what? Lesson learned. Throw the book at them. Stop doing this stuff. Too many companies out there trying to get away with don't talk about salary, blah, blah, blah. We'll have to write you up. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm going to make what you make times 10. That's it for today's video. Hope you guys are doing all right. I just got a fresh cut. Shout out to Cole for giving me. He's down at Renegade Barber. Shout out to Cole. Anyways, hope you guys are doing well. I'll see you in the next one.